Hi, hello everyone. How are you doing? I hope you are all doing very well. I am also doing very well. We have completed three topics. The first one is parts of speech, second one is the pronoun, and third one is verb. And today's our topic of discussion is the fourth topic. It is the sentence. Many times when you are reading books or when you are reading textbooks, subjects, newspapers, you might have come across many sentences. Let us think about a sentence. What is a sentence? What is the meaning or what is the definition of a sentence? Have you ever thought of the definition of the sentence? Today let us look in detail about the sentence and its types and how many parts are there in a sentence. First, let us begin with the definition of a sentence. So, a sentence is a group of words which gives complete sense of meaning. The sentence should contain complete meaning. Sometimes some sentences will not give complete meaning. We can find only half of the meaning, and such type of sentences are not called as sentences, they are called as phrases. That is why I have written word order here. Let us discuss word order first and then we get into the sentence. See, first word order from descending to ascending order. First one, letter. What is a letter? We have alphabet, and keep it, remember, it is not alphabets, it is, we have to pronounce it as alphabet. They are 26 from A to Z. They are known as letters. And coming to word, what is a word? Group of letters. If we put some alphabet, some letters together, then it makes a word. And then next one is phrase in this order. What is a phrase? Group of words that do not give complete sense of meaning. We cannot get complete meaning in a phrase. If you observe the definitions of phrase and sentence, almost similar definitions. Here also group of words, here also group of words, but the only difference is that phrase do not give complete sense of meaning, complete thought, whereas a sentence gives complete sense of meaning. I have written examples to understand those two better. If you observe, I am going to school, it is giving complete information about me. What I am doing? I am going to school, and it has a complete fact. It is giving complete thought. Now observe examples I have written for phrase here. The first example is, when I am going on the road, it contains only half meaning. In order to make full meaning, we need to add one more phrase to this so that it becomes a sentence. It is only one phrase, and this phrase doesn't give full meaning for us. If you add some extra information, then it contains complete sense of a meaning. Let us see carefully how I will add the phrase. When I am going on the road, I met with an accident. I met with an accident. So if you observe this statement, this is first phrase up to comma, and from here onwards it is a second phrase. Now these two phrases together make a sentence. If you observe carefully, up to here it is a phrase and this is a sentence. I met with an accident. We cannot call this as a phrase, of course, because I met with an accident gives complete thought, complete sense of meaning. But this first phrase cannot give complete sense of meaning. When I am going on the road, that's all. What happened? We don't know, because this statement is dependent on this statement. Without this statement, this phrase doesn't give any meaning. In the same way, second example, if you ask me what will happen, where is the result? So this sentence is also dependent on the next statement. If you ask me, I will give you. If you ask me, I will give you. See, this is independent phrase because it exerts complete meaning, whereas it is dependent phrase. It is not giving complete thought. It is giving only half. If you ask me, what happens? What happens is in this phrase. So now this is sentence and this half doesn't make a sentence, and this is just a phrase. You have to understand the difference very clear. See, this is a sentence. It exerts complete meaning, and this is phrase up to here. When you add this statement, and then the whole becomes a sentence. When I am going on the road, I met with an accident is a sentence. When I am going on the road is a phrase. In the same way, if you ask me is a phrase. If you ask me, I will give you is a sentence. If you observe the phrase, we can find group of words here. See, 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 words are there, group of words. And the total sentence 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 words are there. Even it may be 4 words or 8 words, so we can call it as a group of words, but here only half of the meaning, there is no complete thought, and this whole sentence provides complete thought. And coming to third one, as I have fever, as means because I have fever, since I have fever, I won't come to school. Since I have fever, I won't come to school. So this statement is also same like the above two. As I have fever gives only half of the meaning. As I have fever, what happens? We don't know. It is in the second phrase. What happens now? I won't come to school because I have been suffering from the fever. So it is dependent phrase, it is independent phrase, and these two phrases together make a sentence and together gives complete sense of meaning. So this is the word of order. First one, letter contains alphabet, word group of letters, phrase group of words that do not give complete sense of meaning, and sentence is also group of words that gives complete sense of meaning, and paragraph is group of sentences because one sentence doesn't make a paragraph. If you add some more statements, then that sentences make a paragraph and group of paragraphs make an essay. One paragraph doesn't make essay. So if you add 2 or more paragraphs, then we can call it as essay. So till now we have discussed about the definition of a sentence, group of words which expresses complete thought. And now let us see parts of a sentence. A sentence contains 2 parts. I think 9th class students might have heard it already because it is a part of their grammar. So a sentence contains 2 parts. Every sentence includes 2 parts, and they are, the first one subject and the second one is predicate. Here subject doesn't refer to your regular subjects like Telugu, Hindi, English, mathematics. Here subject is different. So I have written the definition of the subject here. So subject is nothing but doer of an action. So don't be confused with the word doer. A person who will do the action is known as doer. So simply doer of an action is called subject. In other words, the person or thing who will do the action is called subject. The work is performed by subject always. If the subject of the sentence usually comes in the beginning of the sentence. How to recognize the subject? See, always, not every time, usually the subject of a sentence comes in the beginning of the sentence. Let us identify subjects in these 4 examples. So the first one is I like fruits. What is the action here? Like. And who likes fruits? I like fruits. So action is being done by me. So the subject is here I. So here S refers to subject. As there is no much place, I am writing just yes. I like fruits. So first action is like, and who likes fruits? Question. Answer is I like fruits. So action is done by me. So I am the subject. Coming to second one, he danced with me. He danced with me. What is the action here? Work here? Danced. Now my question is, who danced? Answer is he. He danced. So the work was done by the person he. So subject is he. And coming to third one, Jack built this house. Here the action word is, the verb is built. Now my question, who built this house? Answer is Jack. So subject Jack. And the last example, they played indoor games. Action is played, and my question, who played indoor games? They played indoor games. So it is subject. By observing all these four examples, we can draw a conclusion. What is that? The subject of the sentence always comes in the initial position, in the beginning of the sentence. That is what we have written. Doer of an action is called subject. A person or a thing who performs the action is known as subject. See, now I am teaching, right? I am teaching. Who is teaching? I. So, who is subject? I. One more statement. You are listening. Who is listening? You. So, what is the subject? You. And the subject's position is in the beginning of the statement. Like this, we can easily recognize the subject. And not always, keep it remember, not always, not 100% every time subject will not come in the beginning of the sentence. You need to remember the definition. If the first noun or pronoun performs the work, then only it will be considered as subject. Let me consider another example to understand the difference for that. Now my example is, I was punished by the teacher. I was punished by the teacher. So if you observe this example carefully, then you will get the difference very clearly about the subject. See, in these four examples, the initial word is identified, is recognized as the subject. Now in the same way, consider this as the next example, fifth one. Now identify the subject. So if you follow the flow of these four statements, definitely everybody will identify I as subject. Because sir, just now you only told subject of the sentence usually come in the beginning of the sentence. So beginning word is I and it is a pronoun. So it is obviously subject, sir. You may give explanation like that, but I is not subject here. Because as I already told, subject usually comes but not always comes in the beginning of the sentence. See, observe the action here. What is the action word? Verb punished. Who punished? Question now. I punished the teacher or teacher punished me? You have to imagine the who, by whom the work is done. So here the work is not done by me. Not done by me. So punishment was done by the teacher. So now you can easily tell that subject is not I but the teacher. Because punishment was given to me by the teacher. So teacher performed the action here. Who punished? Teacher punished. Who did the work now? Who did the punishment work? Teacher did the punishment work. So subject is teacher. That is the last word. So if you observe the positions, these examples are completely different with that example. But these cases are rare. Especially this is passive voice. So during passive voice, whenever you read or whenever you write passive voice, subject will come at the ending. Otherwise, if you write active statements or statements in active voice, subject usually comes in the beginning of the statement. So this is about subject, simply doer of an action, and that doer must be a noun or pronoun. Remember this one also. Subject should always be a noun or pronoun. That's all. Doer should always either be noun or pronoun. See, observe, I here is pronoun. He is pronoun. Jack, name, noun. They is pronoun. I is a pronoun. But here it is not subject, teacher. Teacher is a subject and it is noun. So by this we can draw one more conclusion also. What is that? Subject must be a noun or pronoun. There is no chance for other parts of speech to be as a subject. Okay. Now let us discuss the second part of the sentence. It is predicate. So what is a predicate? A predicate gives information about the subject. Just now we have learnt about the subject. A subject is a noun or pronoun who performs the action. Now predicate gives information about that subject. And coming to the examples here, I like fruits. I have considered the previous examples for subject only. So this is subject as we already discussed earlier. And here the remaining sentence is considered as predicate. If you observe carefully, I is subject, and the remaining part contains one verb and one object. So this verb plus object together known as predicate. That is what I have written here. The predicate essentially consists of verb and object. Here verb is compulsory. Not only in this, in whatever sentence it may be, the sentence must essentially contain a verb. If you observe second one, see here he is subject because danced. Who danced? He danced. So the work is performed by him. So subject he. Now this is verb and this is object. So verb plus object is nothing but predicate. So now we can observe this part as predicate. Here predicate is like fruits. Here predicate is danced with me. Coming to the third one, here subject is Jack, as we already discussed it, and predicate part is built this house. And here subject is they, predicate part is played indoor games. This is predicate. If you observe carefully, in all these four examples, there is a verb and object. So verb is compulsory in predicate. Without verb, we cannot write a sentence. Suppose even if you take a very simple sentence like I am fine, it is a verb. So without verb, we cannot write at least a single sentence in English. So verb is compulsory but not object. Let me consider another sentence. He is coming. He is coming. It is a sentence and it conveys full thought, complete sense of meaning also. Here coming is action and the action is being done by him. So he is subject. Is helping verb, as we already discussed this topic as our third one. And coming is present progressive form, that is V4. So now this is subject part, the first part of the sentence, and this whole part is predicate. Here if you observe carefully, helping verb is also verb, V4 is also a verb. Both are verbs. There is no object here. Object is missing. So by this we can understand that a sentence essentially consists of verb but not object. Object is just optional. If you want that, if the sentence demands the object, then we can add object, otherwise it is not mandatory. It is not essential, but verb is essential. So these are the two parts of the sentence. One is subject, doer of the action, and second one is predicate. Predicate contains verb and sometimes object also. Let us discuss about object first. What is object? We have to discuss about object now. An object is also a noun or pronoun. An object is also a noun or pronoun like subject. Subject should be either noun or pronoun. In the same way, object should also be a noun or pronoun. But the difference, subject will do the action, object will receive that action. Say suppose I will write an example. An object, it receives the action. It receives the action from subject. It receives the action from subject. To understand better, let me consider an example. I kicked the ball. I kicked the ball. Now action word is kicked. Who kicked? I kicked. So I is subject. What did I kick? The ball. It is object. Now see, this is verb and this is object. This is subject part and this is predicate part. And it is object here, the ball. See, work is performed by me and work is received by the ball. This work affected the ball. So, ball received the action. So, I am telling ball is the object, I is the subject. The difference is very clear. Doer of an action is subject, receiver of an action is object, and an object and subject both should be a noun or pronoun, because only nouns and pronouns can do the actions. Okay, so this is about the parts of the sentence. Okay students, so far we have discussed about definition of sentence and parts in a sentence. Now our topic of discussion is types of sentences. Have you ever heard types of sentences? If not, listen carefully. There are 4 types of sentences. Sentences are of 4 types, and namely declarative sentence, interrogative sentence, and third one imperative sentence, and the last one exclamatory sentence. We are going to discuss each one of this type of sentences in detail now. So the first one is declarative sentence. As the name itself is giving us a clarity about declarative sentence. The name itself contains meaning. It declares something, it tells something, it gives information about somebody or something. See, declarative sentence states a fact, or it gives information about a subject. It may be person or it may be thing. Declarative sentence just declares something, it announces something, it tells something, it conveys a message. And identifying, how to identify declarative sentence? It begins with a subject. As we already discussed, subject is a noun or pronoun and doer of the action. It begins with subject and ends with period. What is period? Period is a punctuation mark, or to understand better, period is nothing but full stop. So don't be confused here. A full stop is known as period. So once again, declarative sentence gives information about a noun or pronoun, about somebody or something. And identification is, declarative sentences always begin with a subject and ends with a period or full stop. These are the 2 identification marks of declarative sentence. If you observe these examples, you will be very clear. See, we is a pronoun, so it is a subject, and students, R is helping verb, students is object, and here you can observe full stop at last. See, it began with subject and is ending with full stop, and it is giving some information about the subject we. Who are we? We are all students. So it is giving a fact, it is giving some information about this subject we. To understand more better, second example, Manisha helps me always, or Manisha always helps me. Let it be in any way. Here subject is Manisha, it is a noun. A subject should either be a noun or pronoun. Helps, who is helping? Manisha. So work is done by Manisha, so Manisha is obviously subject. So as per the definition, declarative sentence must begin with subject and ends with period. So here you can find the full stop mark. So this sentence is in declarative type, we can declare that. This sentence is also in declarative type. So very easy to identify. Just see the initial word, if it is subject or something else, and see the ending, there is a period or not. And third one, James goes to church on Sundays. So here James is a subject because he goes to church. The work is being performed every Sunday by James. So he is subject, and here you can identify the full stop at last. That is period. So by observing subject in the initial position and by seeing the full stop at the ending, we can declare, we can say that that sentence is a declarative sentence. And coming to the fourth one, my job is over. My job is a subject here. What is over? My job. So this information is about job. What is over? My job is over. It is giving information about job. So my job is subject, and he can find here the period, the punctuation mark, full stop. So all 4 sentences, 4 examples follow the same rule. They began with subject and are ending with full stop. You may practice some more examples in your home on your own. Write some statements. Okay. After finishing all these 4 sentences, you have to make 10 examples for each sentence. Okay. Let us get into the second one. Now, the second type of sentence is interrogative sentence. Even in this sentence also, the name itself gives a clarity about the definition of the sentence. Have you ever heard the word interrogation? It is a maximum related to police department, because you might have heard police interrogation. If the criminal was arrested by the police, as soon as they arrest the criminal, they will start interrogating him. So what is interrogating? Asking him questions. The police will pelt him, shoot him with questions. That is interrogation. So asking questions. So the name itself is giving definition. Interrogative is nothing but like police interrogation, to ask questions. That is what the definition here. It is used to ask questions. Interrogative sentence is used to question somebody or something. And there are two types of questioning, and that is one WH questions, second one is yes or no questions. So we can ask in two ways. And let us consider the first one, WH questions. See, WH questions always begin with WH word and ends with question mark, because it is a question. And I have written WH words here. You can find out all the list of WH words here. Who, which, where, why, what, when, whose, whom and how. In every word you can find a WH in all the letters. Even WH is also there. Okay. So all these are WH words. By using these words, we have to frame WH questions to question somebody. Let us consider these examples. Who are you? Not a song, example. So it is WH word and it is question mark. So identifying, recognizing the interrogative sentence WH questions is very easy, because it begins with WH word from that list and with the question mark. Second one, what is your name? WH word and is ending with question mark. And third one, why do you waste your time? A question, and it began with why and is ending with question mark. And coming to the fourth one, where can I get a taxi? What is the WH word here? Where and is ending with question mark. There are answers for all these four. So in this way we can write WH questions. This is the first type in interrogative sentence. And the next type is yes or no questions. What are yes or no questions? It is also a way of asking questions, as I already mentioned two ways. One is this one and one is yes or no questions. Yes or no questions will be answered with either yes or no. That is why they are named as yes or no. We cannot give any other answer. If I ask you a yes or no question, you have to answer me either yes or no. Let us discuss some examples and definition of yes or no questions. And now, as we already discussed, the interrogative contains two types of way of questioning. The second type is yes or no questions. As I have already told, yes or no questions begin with helping verb and ends with question mark. You already know very well about helping verbs, because our previous topic is helping verbs. We have discussed many types, be forms, have forms, do forms, modal verbs in the previous video. Yes, if you want more clarity, go for that video also. So am, is, are, was, were, has, have, had, do, does, did, and modal verbs. We have seen some pairs, will, would, shall, should. These are all helping verbs, and these yes or no questions should begin with those helping verbs and ends with question mark. So very easy to identify each type of sentence. As I already told, declarative begins with subject, ends with full stop, and whereas the interrogative sentence WH questions begin with WH word and ends with question mark, and whereas yes or no questions begin with helping verbs. So observe these examples. Did, it is a past tense do form. Yesterday we discussed about this, and it is ending with question mark. So it is obviously yes or no question. We can easily identify. And observe the second one. It is have form, perfect verb, present tense have form, plural, and ending with question mark. And in the same way, can is a modal verb. It is one type of helping verb and is ending with question mark, and here will, it is also a modal verb and is ending with question mark. So after observing all these 4 examples, we can easily say all the examples began with helping verbs. It may be any type, it may be do form or have form or modal verbs or be forms also, but they should begin with helping verb and should end with question mark, and such type of questions, such type of statements are to be identified as yes or no questions and the names. So if you try to answer these questions, definitely you have to say either yes or no. Suppose, did you come to school yesterday? I have asked you a question. Did you come to school yesterday? No. Your answer is no. That is why these questions are named as yes or no question, because you cannot give any other answer. You have only 2 options, either yes or no. And second one, have they finished what we told? If they had finished, they will say yes. If they didn't finish what we told, they will say no. And in the same way, third one, fourth one also, can you help me? If you can, you will say yes, I can help. If you cannot, you will say no. And in the same way, fourth one, will he go to America? If he really goes to America, we will say yes, he will go. Otherwise, no, he won't go. So only 2 options, either yes or no. That is why these statements are named as yes or no questions, and always begin with helping verbs, end with question mark. And let us discuss the third type of sentence, that is imperative sentence. So imperative sentence contains orders or commands, both are same, requests, wish, advice or suggestion, both are same. So simply it contains orders, requests, advice, suggestion or wishes, and identifying is also very easy because it begins with verb or don't. If you observe examples, you will get more clarity about that. So it begins with always verb or sometimes don't, and it ends with a period, full stop. Already we have seen the first type of sentence, declarative, it also ends with period or full stop. But the difference is that their declarative sentence begins with a subject. A subject is a noun or pronoun and ends with full stop. But here in imperative sentence, all statements begin with verbs or don't and ends with full stop. Ending is different in declarative and imperative, but not the beginning. There declarative begins with subject, noun or pronoun. Here imperative begins with verb. So we can easily distinguish based on the initial positions whether it is declarative or imperative. So let us observe the examples. See, first one, get out of the room is an order, right? So get is a verb, first form of verb. As per the definition, imperative statements begin with verb, and get is a verb and ends with period. You can easily observe it is a full stop. Coming to the second one, be quiet is an order. So get out of the room is an order. Be is also one of the helping verbs, belong to be form, and it is ending with a period, full stop. Order. So it is imperative statement. Coming to third one, don't make noise is also an order given to the students by the teachers in school. So here it began with don't and is ending with period, full stop. See, sometimes it begins with verb, sometimes it begins with don't also, and don't be confused that do is helping verb, sir. It is a yes or no question. Some of you may get confusion because it began with do form. Do form is a helping verb. Sir, it began with helping verb, so it is yes or no question. Of course, it begins with do forms, but there is no question mark here, so it is not a yes or no question. It is just imperative sentence because don't is helping verb, of course, but it ends with full stop. So it is imperative only. And coming to fourth one, shoot. It is a verb and it's a full stop. Shoot the culprit. Shoot the criminal, meaning the police officer will give a command to his subordinates, police constables, to shoot the culprit. So it is a command. See, first two are orders, second one, third one is also an order, fourth one is a command. A command is given by the superior officers to his or her subordinates. So this is a command, shoot the criminal, shoot the culprit. And coming to the fifth one, help me please, I am requesting. So next is requests. Help is a verb and it is ending with a full stop, period. So I can identify this as imperative sentence. Coming to sixth one, don't disturb me please. If somebody is disturbing you, if somebody is irritating you, we will say don't disturb me please, or please don't disturb me. It is a request and it is also imperative sentence because it begins with don't and is ending with full stop. And even the seventh example, wake up early in the morning. It is the suggestion. Always our parents, our teachers, our well-wishers will give us this suggestion. Wake up early in the morning. So wake is a verb, first form of verb, and it is ending with period, full stop. So what type of sentence is it? Surely it is a imperative sentence. And don't eat junk food. It is an advice. Our parents, our teachers will often tell this to us. Don't eat junk food, but we always eat. That is different topic, but here don't eat junk food. Don't here begins with don't and ending we can see there clearly full stop. So we can identify this as imperative sentence and it is advice also. Next, ninth one, take medicines regularly. Suppose your grandmother or your grandfather is not feeling well, they are ill, they are sick, and what do you suggest to them when you visit them? Take your medicines regularly, grandma, or take your medicines regularly, grandpa. What is that? It is a suggestion. See, it is beginning with verb, first form of verb, and it is ending with full stop. So what type of sentence? Imperative. And 10th one, don't waste your time. It is also suggestion, will be given to us by our well-wishers. So it begins with don't and is ending with full stop. So here, point to note is, whenever the imperative begins with do forms, don't be confused that it is yes or no question, because there is no question mark. That is why they are yes or no questions only. And one more thing, wish. Sometimes wishes will also start with verbs. I will write here, one more here. May God bless you. See, begins with verb and ends with full stop. Wishes. May God bless you. May you live long. Such type of wishes will also come under imperative sentences. So this is about a third type of sentence. And finally, the last type of sentence is exclamatory sentence. Previously we have discussed three and this is the last one. The name itself is giving exclamation. What is exclaim? What is the meaning of the word exclaim? To surprise. See, if we go under excitement, if we feel something emotional, or if you get sudden feelings, we use exclamatory sentences to express our sudden feelings. It may be joyful feelings or sorrowful feelings or feelings related to surprise. So it is used to express our excitement, emotion or sudden feelings. These sentences contain interjection. Coming to this topic, it is the last one of the parts of speech which we have discussed in our first video. If you get any doubt about interjection, go through the first video of parts of speech and you will get much information about interjections there. Interjections are also used to express excitement, emotions, or sudden feelings. I have explained clearly with examples also in the very first video. If you observe these examples, you will understand how to write exclamatory sentence and how to recognize exclamatory sentences. First one, Yahoo, I have won the match. Suppose you are competing with your friend, neck to neck race, and unfortunately or without any previous expectation, suddenly you have won the game. How do you feel? Yahoo, I have won the game. This is your emotion. You filled with joy and suddenly you expressed your feeling using this interjection, Yahoo. And then second one, hurrah, he is not in the house. Suppose, imagine you want to meet your friend badly, desperately, and you went to his home, but unfortunately he was not there in the home. What do you say? Hurrah, he is not in the house. He left to somewhere. And third one, alas, it is used when you are sad, when you feel sad, when your emotion is related to sadness, when you are filled with grief, we use alas, alas, the bird is dead, to convey sympathy. When you see pathetic situations, heart-rending scenery, we use this interjection. Alas, the bird is dead. Alas, he lost his father. Alas, his grandfather was dead. So we use this interjection to convey sorrowful feelings at the time of grief. Fourth one, oh, I forgot my book in home. Whenever you did not do the homework, you will use this pretext to say to your teacher. Suppose if your teacher came to you and asks homework book to check the home tasks, and suddenly you will not do the homework. Imagine you have not done. Then teacher came and asked you, where is your homework book? You have that in your bag, but you will say, oh, sorry teacher, I forgot that in my home. Oh is used to express such type of feeling. And then wow, it is used to express when you are cheerful, when you are feeling joyful. Wow, what a splendid scenery, what a beautiful location it means. When you see a place with much pleasant atmosphere, with beautiful atmosphere, you will say, you will express, you will convey your feelings like this. Wow, what a splendid shot. Wow, what a nice shot. If you are seeing cricket, when somebody hits boundary or when somebody hits ball out of the stadium, you will say, wow, what a nice shot. Wow, what a six. Wow, what an answer. What a good job. So all these interjections are used to express sudden feelings. The last parts of speech and exclamatory sentence are of same. There is no difference at all. Okay, so go through that video once again. So this is finally the topic, sentence. Once again I conclude, sentence is a group of words which gives complete meaning. There are two parts in a sentence. One is subject and predicate. Subject is a noun or pronoun who will do the action, and object is also a noun or pronoun who will do the action. Predicate is except subject, the remaining part of the sentence is considered as predicate, and predicate contains verb plus object. Verb is mandatory, object is optional. And coming to the types of sentences, four types of sentences: declarative, interrogative, imperative, exclamatory. And declarative begins with subject, ends with full stop. Interrogative, two types, WH questions begin with WH word and ends with question mark, and yes or no questions begin with helping verbs, end with question mark. And third type of sentence, imperative, just now we have discussed previously. It contains orders, requests, suggestions, begins with verb or don't and ends with period, full stop. And then the finally exclamatory sentence, it contains interjections and ends with exclamation mark. It is used to express sudden feelings, and these are the examples. So please make a note, write everything clearly in your notes, because by the time you come to school we are ready to check those notes and practice and go through some of your textbooks or newspapers or any passages that will be available in your home, and try to identify the sentence, the type of sentence it belongs to. Okay, so don't waste your time, utilize your time by doing self tasks which will be assigned to you yourself. Okay, thank you.